Hello and welcome. I'm John Dillon, PwC Ireland's private leader for private business. I'm joined here today with Jonathan Flack, our global leader for private business. And we're here to discuss the PwC Global Family Business Survey 2025. We're here to discuss the challenges that our family businesses are facing, the way in which they're embracing innovation, and the actions they're taking to stay ahead. We'll delve into that, and what we look at is we look at the comparison in terms of the global findings, but also what's important in terms of Irish family businesses and what's moving them apart as such, and what are the key success factors. Jonathan, you're very welcome, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Jonathan, can I delve into one of the first areas, I suppose, in terms of the survey itself? There's quite a bit of divergence in terms of growth expectations amongst family businesses. What are family businesses saying to us in terms of the survey? What are the ones that are being successful in terms of the actions that they're taking? And I suppose, why are they being so successful?
Yeah, thank you, John. So our survey is a little over 1,300 family businesses across 60 different territories. As we know, family businesses are still the cornerstone of the global economy. 60% of GDP is from family businesses. 2/3 of employment globally is from family businesses. But what we started to see in our survey results was this year there was a really significant drop in family businesses that had double-digit growth. And that number dropped from about 47% in our previous survey down to 25%. And that population of double-digit growth family businesses was the lowest level since the mid-pandemic years. And if you take out the mid-pandemic years, it's one of the lowest number of double-digit growth family businesses that we've recorded. So what we did in the survey is we really looked at, were there any unifying trends or any real unique elements from those family businesses that were growing at a double-digit rate, and what could other family businesses learn from those families?
Okay, very good. And agility, I think, and purpose are two of the areas that come out, if you like, in terms of within family businesses. And there are certain traits that family businesses are showing, if you like, in terms of that's making them successful in terms of structural agility and the focus around purpose. Can you share some of the themes in terms of what the survey is telling us on those?
Yeah, so one of the things that we really wanted to emphasize to family business leaders is there are competitive advantages that are unique for family businesses. And one of those that we want to highlight as it relates to agility is the general structure of family businesses, with having a concentrated ownership, a flat hierarchy, and a really streamlined decision making really gives an advantage for family businesses in this environment. The piece that stood out for us in some of the survey data was some of the higher performing family businesses not only had all of those same features of being very nimble, but they also had good structured governance and good structured decision-making processes that allowed them to respond very quickly to customer demands, to be agile in the market with what's happening with all of the different things that have been facing family businesses. So that's one of the key pieces that we talked about first. The second piece is we often speak about one of the unique factors for family businesses is they always lead with purpose. There's a family behind ownership. Those families are united by a mission, of values with everything that made them who they are and got the business to where they are today. But the difference piece is what we learned from both our survey as well as interviewing some of the families, is the families that were actually leaning into that purpose and being in the market and being transparent about that purpose were having better results with recruiting, because their purpose message was resonating in the talent pool. They were having better reactions from their customer base, and then they were actually as translating into better results for their business. So the encouragement piece for us as we come through this survey is family businesses need to really lean back into that purpose and not be afraid to leverage that as a strategic asset in the market.
Okay, very good. And thinking about strategic assets, one of the other pieces as well is I suppose the emphasis in terms of the way in which family businesses will always look to invest in terms of capital as such, and reinvest profits in the business, take a long-term view. What are we seeing in terms of how family businesses are successfully managing that balance between investment that's required in terms of the long-term bets as such, and investing in terms of innovation to remain current and relevant to today, but also then actually reinvesting and continuing to invest in the core as such.
Yeah. So we know in the Irish market that we have both a mix of some family businesses that have been around for multiple generations and 80, 100-year plus years, which is remarkable. And then we also have a lot of younger family businesses that may be trying to get from G1 to G2. I think the behaviors that families do really well with is they have a long-term orientation about how they think about deploying their capital, and then how they set expectations as it relates to the return on that capital. So we had, 75% of the family businesses said that they focus long-term in their orientation, and then 85% of the family businesses we interviewed prioritize reinvesting the profits back into the business. And so when we're in an economic environment where we have a very dynamic supply chain environment, we have huge technology disruption in terms of all the companies trying to figure out how to deal with generative AI and other pieces of machine learning, et cetera. And then all of the geopolitical landscape that clients and companies are dealing with. All of those things is a ton of noise for any business leader to deal with. So what we saw where the families were really excelling and really having outsized growth is they really were focused long term. They were making calculated bets on these new areas and taking risks. This wasn't a time at which they were making high risk, high reward type bets. They were actually making calculated risks, but they were focused on that from a long-term orientation standpoint. And the feedback from them was the results are paying off.
Okay, very good. So finally, Jonathan, if I can just ask you, if you stand back from the survey, thinking strategically in terms of how family businesses, if you like, in terms of making those investment decisions, but also thinking about the actions that family businesses could focus on over the next period ahead. And I'm thinking about maybe three areas in terms of, succession planning, the area in terms of innovation and staying current, but also in terms of protecting reputation. There's a lot of messages in terms of how businesses ought to be focusing in terms of the way in which they manage reputation. Are there any messages you could reflect on for Irish family businesses in that context?
Yeah, so when businesses and family businesses in particular think about leadership succession, I think the first thing that they have to have really significant clarity around is long-term strategy. So have you sat back in this time of great disruption? There are a lot of immediate issues to be addressed. Now is the time to actually sit back and think about what is the long-term strategy. Is that long-term strategy aligned with the talent strategy you have? Is it aligned with where you want to take your business from a purpose standpoint? And once you have that long-term strategy focus, then you can evaluate what type of leaders do you need in order to enact that long-term strategy. From a legacy standpoint as it relates to your brand, the other unique piece that came through our survey is families are well known and are very focused around preserving their brand, preserving their reputation, and that's all about being able to extend the legacy of this family. The difference piece that we heard in the survey was a lot of our family businesses are not only focused on preserving, but they're trying to figure out ways at which they're leveraging that brand in the marketplace. So reputation with social media impacting how families are having to respond instantaneously to potentially to customer complaints, to items that might be disrupting from a political environment. All of those things are where you have to play defense with your brand and with your reputation. But again, the unique piece is we actually learned of stories of where there's a number of family businesses that are leaning into their reputation in the market, and that's actually paying huge dividends for them. So thinking about ways at which, how do you get out in the market and promote the reputation and extend that reputation, not just playing defense, but trying to find plays to play offense with it.
Okay, super. Jonathan, thank you very much for all those insights. They're really valuable. So you can explore the PwC Global Family Business Survey and the PwC Irish Family Business Survey on our website, pwc.ie. You'll find lots of practical guidance. You'll have deep insight that's been tailored to suit Irish family businesses. Thank you for listening.